Once in a blue moon in anime, there comes around a character that everyone, manga readers and anime-onlys alike, unanimously agree on to be the coolest character. They may not get as much screen time or character development as the main character, but every scene they're in, they steal the spotlight and demands your full, undivided attention, even if it's just for a few minutes. Examples: Gojo Satoru from Jujutsu Kaisen, Levi from Attack on Titan, or Killua from Hunter x Hunter. You know this is true when you see 50 people with the same Gojo profile picture on Discord. Every scene they appear in, they just ooze charisma and sheer coolness in a way that just makes you wanna see more of them. Something like this happened a couple seasons ago, I don't know, with Tokyo Revengers, except instead of one character, it's all of them, and they carry the show. My name is Korbro, and today I'll be talking about Tokyo Revengers. The hype for this show died and no one cares anymore, but I need to get a video out, so I'll talk about the various aspects of the show, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Hanagaki Takemichi is kind of a loser. Despite being 26, he gets jumped by middle schoolers, he's stuck in a dead-end job where he gets bossed around by his manager who's younger than him, and he lives in a tiny one-room apartment littered with trash that he doesn't bother to clean up. The story begins when one day, Takemichi finds out on TV that his middle school ex died due to an incident related to a gang. However, his mundane life changes when he's pushed into a moving train. Wait, I've seen this one. No, it's not what you think it is. For real though, this guy's the perfect candidate to be isekai'd. He has the black hair, he's a NEET, and he has his V-card. But instead of waking up in a fantasy world, Takemichi finds himself exactly 12 years in the past, right in the middle of his heydays in middle school. Imagine peaking in middle school. This kinda sets the tone for the type of guy we're dealing with here. Some stuff happens and he decides that he's been sent back in time to save his middle school ex by preventing the source of the incident 12 years in the future. Oh, and have I mentioned the biker gangs yet? Yeah, forget everything I just told you, these guys are cool as hell and are probably the reason you're watching the show. Time travel and delinquents, two seemingly unrelated genres merge into one, and what you get is an ambitious and exciting story with incredibly hype moments of kids beating the shit out of each other, but also a suspense, hints of mystery, and high stakes that keep you at the edge of your seat. Right? Well, let's back the train a bit. Time travel is a concept that has tickled the human mind for many years. Popularized by films like Back to the Future, authors have been dabbling in and creating their own takes on the medium for years. But somewhere along the line, we realized that time travel is kind of stupid. There were issues. Traveling back in time wasn't as cookie cutter as we might have thought. There were bound to be logical inconsistencies. Small changes can lead to big consequences, and some modern takes on the genre has adapted to address some of those problems. So does Tokyo Revengers meet the expectations we've come to set for this genre? Not really. Once the initial hype passes and the show takes you out of the action and gang fights to focus more on the main plot, you might notice there are some things that make you raise an eyebrow and go, oh, okay. Takemichi does one thing that should affect another thing, but it never does. The butterfly effect works in wonky ways that I could only describe as plot convenience, and Takemichi just straight up forgets information he's supposed to have learned in the future. You might notice I'm making very broad statements right now, but I can't go into much deeper without spoiling anything. Watch the show for yourself and you might see them too, or don't. But were those plot holes enough to turn me away from the show? No, because of... So let's talk about the characters. First, we have Mikey. He's the leader of the Tokyo Manji gang and also the ultimate badass with a kick that can knock out dudes twice his size. Chances are, if you're around Discord, you've probably seen his face from profile pictures. But when he's not kicking ass, you find out he's surprisingly a super chill dude with a bit of a childish side to him that makes him likable. Next is the number 2 of the Tokyo Manji gang, Draken. This dude has a dragon tattoo on his head. You already know this guy's a badass. He contrasts Mikey's childish and hot-headed personality with a more grounded, mature one. He's like the big brother of the gang. This dude's pretty tight too. Then we have Best Girl. Honestly, when they first introduced Tina as the girl the protagonist has to save, I thought she'd be another Sakura or like an Asuna. But I was wrong. Honestly, she's just a genuine, kind girl, and when you see the smile, you begin to understand why Takemichi's trying so hard to save her. Those are our main cast of characters, but honestly, everyone in the gang is so cool and likable, so I'll briefly mention some of my favorites. Mitsuya, Chifuyu, and of course, Baji. Oh, by the way, have I mentioned that these characters are all middle schoolers? What kind of 8th graders are joining gangs and riding bikes? But there actually were kids joining gangs and riding bikes. Damn, Japanese middle schoolers were crazy. Now, you might have noticed that I still haven't actually talked about arguably the most important character, the protagonist Takemichi. That's because he's kind of a bitch. In a show with a cast of such varied and likable side characters, you'd expect the main character to at least hold his own. I'm not saying Takemichi should have magically become this Giga Chad harem protagonist when he got hit by that train, but I at least expected him to get better, but the more I watch, the more he somehow regresses. At the start of the show, I actually liked the guy. Sure, he was kind of a loser, but a story about a guy setting out to better himself and grab a hold of their own life is something I could always get behind. But as you watch more of the show, you'll begin to realize that he doesn't really do anything. Like, when super serious shit that could permanently ruin the future is happening right in front of him, he'll just stand there, talk about how much of a failure he is, and cry. Okay, it worked the first few times he does that, but then it just starts pissing you off. Like, at first it was bearable, but as you see this happening again and again with no real growth or improvement to his character, you begin to hate the guy more and more. And he's also a groomer. But despite the downcomings of the show, I found that it was impossible for me to put down the show and drop it for good, even though I was tempted to many times. And that's because the show has some legitimately great qualities that made it worth watching. While the lows can get pretty annoying at times, the highs can be equally good, if not better. Even though I hated Takemichi, I still found myself rooting for him because I cared for these other characters, and Takemichi succeeding meant saving everybody in the future. After seeing Takemichi take L's after L's after L's, the rare moments where he does get W's are so refreshing to see. And boy, the soundtrack, whenever they do the thing, I was just like, jeez. The OP also slaps, by the way. And I haven't read the manga, but everyone I know who did have all told me that it only gets better from here, and that most of the issues I had with the show would eventually get addressed. Let's wrap this up. Should you watch this show? This video was about 2 months late, and chances are you probably have already seen it or decided that you don't want to see it. But if you somehow still haven't heard about the show, I can give you a few pointers. Cliffhangers that will blue ball you at the end of every episode, a strong cast of likable side characters, and hype fight scenes, scaling all the way to full-on gang fights. If these sound good to you, then sure, give it a go. Yeah, that's it. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and comment what you thought about the video. Thanks for 800 subs. I don't really know what to say other than that that's pretty crazy, and you're pretty cool if you subbed. I know I skipped last week's upload, that's cause I was just busy with stuff, but I should be done with finals soon, which will give me more time to make more videos, so look out for that. And that's it. Gonna check out now, see you on the next one. I have a project that's due tomorrow and I'm recording this video. Please help me.